Cool. So, yeah, today is about proprioception, which is simply what position your kind of body's in, understanding how it feels and where you're at in terms of body position during different exercises and general movement. And then we're also including in that balance and control, which is obviously quite important there too, as if you don't have any balance and control in movements, then we're quickly going to lose that positioning, and we really want to maintain that proprioception, understand what kind of position we're in when we're in the most important exercises. So we're talking about planks, squats, deadlifts. If we don't have the right back position or our knees aren't doing what we want them to be doing, you may not feel the issue then and there, but it may lead on to issues in the future, whether it be injuries or aches and pains. But also, we also want to get the most out of exercise as well. So if we're not activating the right muscles, the glutes is a common one for this. If we're not activating the right muscles, then we may be training them, but not getting the most out of that training. So today we're going to focus on kind of the most common areas where this occurs. We're going to go through them. I'm going to obviously demonstrate them quite a lot, so I recommend doing these along with me, especially on the ones that you struggle with. And we're just going to fly through a load of different exercises, explaining where the kind of mistakes are made. I'm just going to have a sip of water, and then we'll get going. So I'll start with this exercise a lot first of all. We're going to start with the cat-cow, because this is all about the back. So if you want to bring yourselves into position, onto your hands and knees. So the cat-cow, all we're looking to do is rounding and tucking of the hips. So I've got an arch back here, I tuck the hips under, and I round the back, and then I arch back like so. So I just want to go for that first of all. Now everyone pretty much manages to do this, no problem. When you bring it down to all fours, it makes it quite simple to perform this exercise. And obviously Hannah and Erica, which I can't see Louise, but obviously you can see yourselves as well, which is very useful. Doing this stuff in front of a mirror, all these kind of proprioception exercises are so effective to do in front of a mirror. So not only can you feel what it feels like, you can see what you're doing as well. So just going to continue here. So like I said, this is a very simple movement that most people can manage. But what we're doing here is a anterior and posterior pelvic tilt. Anterior and posterior just means forward and backwards, basically. So we're just tilting the pelvis, causing that movement of the and then that movement of the back. So if I was to bring this onto my knees and take my hands off, you put your hands on your hips. We're going to do it here as well. We want to arch and round, but this is where it gets tricky. So Eric and I can already see we're kind of moving from the hips back and forth. So this is what we're kind of referring to. It gets very tricky when you start doing it in different positions. So bring it back down. We're going to arch around, and just learning this movement here is key first of all. So another way of thinking about it is bringing it down onto your back. So the best way to do it here is to flatten the back like so. I'm going to put my arms up so you can see. You don't have to have your arms up. So if I arch my back, then you can see I can get this hand through to the other side, like so. And if that's when I'm arching those hips. When I tuck them up, my back's super flat to the floor. And if anything, my bum's just starting to come off the floor. So again, if I show you my hands up, arching and tucking, this is the exact same movement as the cat-cow. I am just using the tilting of the pelvis, tilting upwards, and then arching, tilting it downwards. So the best way to think of this is if you carry on with this, I just need to carry on with this movement while I talk to you. Best way to think of this is if I grab this stick here, our pelvis is like a base to our torso. So, and when it's flat, it's about here. If I tilt, then it's tilting like so. So I'm like tipping the water out the front. And if I tilt this way, I'm tilting my pelvis under. I'm tipping the water out the back. Flat back here, and then tilt, and my pelvis goes in this angle. and then tilt the other way, my pelvis is in that angle. So that's all we're doing here. That's all we're doing on the knees, the same here, tilt, and same here as well. It's just that tilting of the pelvis is what we're doing. So I'll bring it back down with you guys. So the good way of doing it down here is, first of all, if you can find your hip bones, you can feel the motion that they are going in. As you tilt the bum upwards, you can feel those hip bones pull up toward you, as in like lifting into your stomach. And as you tilt downwards to create that arch in the back, you feel your hip bones go away from you. So you've got to think of your hips doing that rotation like so. Tilt and back. So you can't, the reason we're doing this a lot is because you can't do this enough in terms of learning the movement itself. Because when you can, it allows you to get into pretty much any position, or know if you're in a bad or good position depending on the exercise. So being able to tilt here is really important. So I want to put your legs out straight, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Got that flat feet. It makes it slightly harder to do, but it helps you if you can do it. Focus on those hips more. So you can see I'm arching, and then I'm tucking at those hips. One way you can do it is putting your hands under your back, and then as you tuck the hips up, your back should push right into your hands and down into the floor. And then you can arch again to create that gap for your hands. Tucking and arching up. Think of almost squeezing the glutes and thrusting the hips up with a squeeze, like so. There's loads of ways people use to try and think of this. Another way is when you're kind of tucking upwards, you're imagining you're grabbing the top of your trousers or shorts and zip it, like pulling them up to you. That's what your hips are doing, pulling that part up, and then they sink away as you arch, arching and tucking there. So this is really important in pretty much every exercise. So if we go forward now, if you guys stand yourselves up, so similar to the kneeling one, we're going to go hands on the hips, and we're going to arch and tuck just in a standing position. That's it. Good job. Nice. Just arching and tucking like so. Hardest to do in this position is like a thrust. It's thrusting forward with the hips and then arching back, creating that arch in the back, pushing the bum out, and then tucking there. Once you can master this, you kind of understand what kind of different exercises we want to be doing this with. So if you take it down into a hip hinge or a deadlift, so if you just go for a bodyweight deadlift downwards, and just hang yourself in this position, you can rest on your knees like so if you want to, but that's where we're going to focus here. So I'm going to show you a few things. So using this stick again, if I am overarched, I can cause a lot of issues with my spine by arching too much. The more common thing with the deadlift is to not be able to arch at all and have that rounded position. So you're pretty flat on your back because obviously you do deadlift frequently, but all I'm doing here to creating that is that tilting of the pelvis. So in order to get that flat back, you need that pelvic tilt. The same as you come into a squat. If you're coming into a squat here, if I come down, eventually that pelvis tilts under. But I need to maintain a flat back. I don't want it to round under like so. I need that pelvic tilt control. So that's just a few options. That's just a few examples of where it comes into importance. But where we're going to go from this is bringing it back down to our hands and knees. So from this cat-cow, arch as much as you can, and then round as much as you can. And then from that, using a video of yourself, find your middle position. So I'll show you that again. Arch, round, and then find that middle position where you've got a nice flat back, natural and neutral spine and core. And then all I want you to do is engage your abs like so. So you're in that flat back position. Now we're looking to maintain that as we take a leg out. So what easily happens, if you watch me here, I arch the back as that leg goes out. We don't want that. We want to make sure we're staying tucked up enough to keep the flat back. And then that leg goes out whilst my back stays straight. We're going to bring that back, and we're going to take the other side out. And we're just going to alternate each side like so. So all we're doing here is really allowing the core to brace and stay on, whilst going alternate sides, and you should feel the glutes kicking out that leg rather than the back doing the work there. So nice and controlled, side to side like so. Exactly like that, that's good. So you can rest there. We're going to take this into a bird dog where the arms go out as well. So whatever leg's going out, the opposite arm, again, avoid that arch in position. We're keeping the hips tucked under, back nice and flat. And we're going out, back, and then out on the other side and back. Constantly focus on keeping those hips in the same position and the core nice and strong. Take your time, alternating sides like so. That's it, good job. So now what you can see is, as we're here, that anterior and pelvic tilt, if we're in control of it, it allows us to maintain a good core brace, which again, is so important to every exercise, especially the compound exercises, in keeping your spine healthy and keeping your body strong in the exercise. The bird dogs are great to establish that core stability. And now we're going to test your core by taking it into a bear dog, I call these. So it's basically in a bear core position. You're just going to extend out like we were doing there. So what you're going to do is from this position, you're going to lift your feet up and extend out like so. You've got to keep your core super strong. Very effective core exercise. Don't fall back to arch. It's a very tricky one. You've got to find that balance. The main thing is not lifting the legs and arms too high. Yeah, what you can do is not do your arms on this one. If you find it really tricky, that's good, Hannah. So keep the arms down. You find it's really tricky, like so. You should be able to feel the core work a hell of a lot to keep you stable in this position, like so. So this is one of the best ways to practice core bracing, as well as keeping that tilt nice and strong. Cool. So I have a little rest there. I don't want to spend too long on anything today. So that's first of all where we want to start in terms of core bracing. We're going to keep coming back to that one. The next exercise we're going to go into is a lunge. So I talked about this last time on my first masterclass. If you bring yourself into a standing position, we're going to go into a lunge forward and then just a hold into that position. So lunge and then hold there. That's it. Keep holding and then step back up. You're going to do the exact same on the other side. Lunge forward, hold, and step back up. Cool. So, which all three of you had there was perfect, nice control, which is exactly what we want. There's a few things we want to look at, is making sure those knees aren't either caving in or you're not losing your balance. So that's where we want to be with the lunge. In order to improve your lunge or gather more control in it, we need to take our time in it. Like you guys paused then, that's exactly what we want. So we're going to do a few different things in the lunge. So bring it back, we're going to go back into a lunge and just hold. That's it. And then from here, I want to bring both arms above the head. That's it. And then place both hands on your shoulders. Like so, crossed over. And then you're going to twist over that front leg. Like so. Twist back. And then step back up. Can be quite uncomfortable in that position. Trying to make sure we're getting as close as we can to that 90-90, where both, that knee's just off the floor, and they're both in right angles. So we're going to do the same on the other leg. So I'll show you from this angle. Lunge forward and hold. Find that balance, controlled. Arms go up. Just maintain. Hands come to the shoulders. And then we twist over that leg and twist. twist back, and then back up. So it's quite uncomfortable, especially when we're at home at the moment, when we don't have maybe any weights to use. This kind of training can be really good to not only keep your legs strong, but improve on strengthening them. By holding these positions, it makes it really tough on the muscles, especially in that deep position. Now, before we do that one more time on each side, if you watch the twist, what we want to focus on is where those knees are going. Although we're lunging forward and then twisting, what we want to make sure the twist comes on the torso. If we see the legs kind of twist across or have to open up in any way, we want to avoid that. We want to keep this locked on here as we twist across and nothing moves. So we'll go through them both once more time and just focus on that and the twist. But they all look pretty good, to be fair. So here we go. Lunge forward. Hands go above the head. Bring them to the shoulders. And twist. That's it. Twist back. And step up. Nice. One more time on each side. Lunge. Oh, one more time on this side. Sorry. Lunge forward. Hands go up. Hands to the shoulders. Twist. Twist back. And step back up there. Cool. So really good. Really good control. It's exactly what we want in a lunge. So we don't have to spend too much time on that one. But they're just some really good things just to practice. If you're struggling with lunges, having that control in those 3 different movements is really key. So that kind of covers the whole balance of things. If you're able to twist and able to go overhead, your balance should be pretty strong there. We're going to bring it into a plank next. Let's have a drink. So everyone knows a plank. I covered it again in my first masterclass, but if you guys bring yourself down, we're going to go through some of the main plank movements and kind of show where we may lose our plank. Let's first establish that plank. So we're going to start on the forearms and we're going to start on the knees. The knees are down and they drop right back. Now in this position here, we want the bum to be level, if not just below the shoulder level. We want to use that anterior pelvic tilt. So you see I've got a big arch. We want to tuck underneath. So we're squeezing those glutes up and that core's on. So this is where that anterior pelvic tilt really comes into play. So if you do it with me, if you arch the back here and then tuck under, that is a key thing to be able to do in both planks and press ups. If you can arch and tuck, we want to maintain that tuck in a plank and a press up. So keep tucked under. That is the key point here. All looks really good, well done. So rest down a sec. If that's where you're going to work today, then that's absolutely fine. That knee down plank is really effective when that tuck, that anterior pelvic tilt underneath is really strong. We're going to do the exact same thing on the feet. If you struggle with this bit, then just drop back down into the knees. We're going to do the same thing here. So on the feet, we're going to tuck and arch. For arch first, you should feel a lot of pressure on the back when you arch for the full plank. And then tuck those hips under, squeeze those glutes, and you should feel the pressure from the back go. And if anything, you should feel a lot of core engagement there. So that is what we're looking for a plank. So rest down there. So again, if you're struggling at any point to maintain that during these exercises, then just carry on the knees. But yeah, form-wise, look really good. So don't want to spend too much time on that as we've done it before. So what we're going to go into is a mountain climber first of all. We're going to do mountain climber, shoulder taps, and saw. So mountain climber, we're going to come onto the hands for this one. You're going to bring it onto the feet and tuck those hips under, like we just practiced. As you can see, if anything, I'm slightly rounding up when I tuck those hips. When I'm on the hands, my core is strong. Now what we don't want to do is move anything other than knee. So bring that mountain knee in and just hold it there. foot's off the floor, the knee's in, and the position hasn't changed otherwise. Put it back, and then onto the other side. Hold, and then back, and then rest down. So we're going to do a few of those, but that's how we want it to be. Mountain climbers can sometimes easily in circuits get rushed through, which is fine when you're trying to hit a pace for it. But what you see a lot of is the hip swaying, like so, losing the hips here. Sometimes the bum raises up, we push our shoulders back, and they can look like this, which is not effective for the core when we're trying to work the core, and that's what mountain climbing is for. So bring yourself back down. We're going to do them a little bit quicker, but with that focus in mind. Nothing's moving other than these knees coming in and out. Otherwise, my plank is as strong as ever. Hips aren't swaying, which stabilizes my core, not to cause swaying. The big thing for the core. So this is how we want our mountain climb to work. The bum's not raising at all. We've got enough space underneath to get those knees under. And we're able to go there. Really good. Go strong. Rest down now. So obviously going away and practicing all these, especially the ones you care about most, is key. We don't want to spend too much time on any one thing today. So the next thing is a shoulder tap. Exactly the same here. It's exactly the same, apart from it's with the arms. The only difference is because it's with the arms and we're weaker in the arms generally compared to our legs, this is harder for especially most people. So first thing to do shoulder taps. Take those feet a lot wider than normal, and then tuck those hips again. You can see my hip is below my shoulder level, and I'm in this position here. So that's where we want to be. You can rest down a second before we go into it. Now, if you need to do these quick, if you don't have enough strength in the upper body to hold it, then just go for a tap. The main things we don't want to see here is where we're swaying. So if I'm going to tap this shoulder, this tends to be what happens. We bend one leg and it drops down. So I'll show you here as well. We bend one leg and it drops down, and the other leg stays straight. I've got a big hip twist. Again, it's really hard to not do that, but what we want to see is nothing changing the plank, we're just lifting a hand off. So here, feet wide for balance. Our plank stays exactly the same. I've got hand off, back down, and over to the side. Now, if you need to do these quickly, that's fine. The key is holding plank position more than anything else. So focus on keeping that bum down. When you're ready, give it a go. That's it. Establish that big plank first. Keep that bum low. Perfect. Really good. Now, unfortunately, when you do everything like this we're going to do today, it's always harder, but that's kind of the point. But form-wise, you're all looking really good. So just go for a few on each side, keep it going. Obviously, if you can hold them for longer, then do so. That really tests your ability to keep one arm strong. Just have a little play around here for another few seconds. And then rest there. Good job. Nice. Yeah, really good, guys. But that's exactly what we're looking for in both mountain climbers and planks. Just that stability in the core comes first. The final one we're going to do is a saw. Now this one's a very tricky exercise, so we're going to do it on the knees first. But the key is the same. In terms of we're looking at the hips and the shoulders. So this is my shoulders here. The hips are just below, if not level. It's easy when you're doing these exercises to start lifting those hips and put it into the shoulders. So from here up to here. It's only a small movement. It kind of switches off the core, puts all the pressure in the shoulders. So that's what we don't want. So a saw, we're going to be on the forearms, and all we're going to do is shuffle the knees backwards. So you can see my elbows have gone from underneath my shoulders to quite far away. So they were here. Shuffle the knees back. I'm in that extended position. This is basically stretching out that core. The longer the core is, the harder it is to hold that position. So I want to give that a go. So starting that plank on the knees, back you go, and then hold. Maintain that tuck under, The core has to work a hell of a lot more to maintain that position. What we don't want to see is this, where we raise the bum in order to compensate. Keep those hips down and core strong. Now, just on the knees alone, this should be very tough. That's really good. The main thing is that bum's down. So you can relax down there. Now, if that was very tough and you try this and this is too hard, then again, stay where you were. But we're going to do this. So a saw on the feet is use your feet whilst keeping the hips tucked to walk out, and then you walk back in. That's what we're looking for. Walking on the in, now. The main thing is when you do that, the bum doesn't change its height. You have to keep that bum nice and low as we're walking forward and back. By doing that, keep those tucked under, or further up, to keep it stable. Really good. Just go for a couple more. We'll try 2 more, and then we'll move on again. Awesome, that's there, nice work. So, have a little breather. Everything's kind of tough today, but that's what we want. We want to make sure we're doing the tough things right. Even if we have to regress them for a bit, we make them easier to get better at them. So the next one is a side squat. Very tricky to get at first. But no matter what, the first thing you have to establish is where you're moving. A lot of the time, what we see is, even though we're going for a side squat, we move in like a diagonal position, like so. And that's not what we want to do. We want to move in directly lateral to us. We're moving right to the side, like so. So first of all, just practice that side step. And if you can see yourself on your video, then you can see that my foot is staying exactly in line with the other foot and stepping to the side. And just hold that split squat position like so. So you're in that big wide stance. Making sure your feet are as wide and nice and comfortable, about shoulder width apart, or sorry, wider than shoulder width. So we're making sure we're in that lateral position first. Now this is where it gets tricky. As you can see in a squat, this is a normal squat here. As I sit down, my knees come forward, that's fine, as long as it's not too much sun coming off my heels. The knees come forward and the bum sinks backwards to counterbalance as my shoulders kind of stay in line. So my body's compensating forward and back to kind of be able to sit without losing balance. We have to do the exact same thing in a squat. What we see a lot of the time in a side squat, sorry, I meant side squat. What we see a lot of the time is we drive our knees forward, but our hips don't sink back, so we end up leaning too much forward here. What we need to do is sit. We need to squat again. So you've got to shift your bum backwards as the knee goes forwards. That's it, good job. So sit your bum back, knee goes forwards, trying to keep the shoulders and chest in that level position over the ankle. That's it, working it. Now, side squats are very hard to keep your chest up. You're doing a good job, but that's the difficult bit, trying to keep it as upright as you can. Using a counterweight in this scenario really helps, but learning this movement first is key. Just making sure that our body weight is sinking back into a squat. Try it on the other side as well. So try the other side. Same again here. Bring that bum back as we squat down into that side squat. Good job, guys. That's it. So initial thought here should be bum goes backwards. That's good. Keep it going. Nice, cool. So what we're also going to try here before we move on is a Cossack squat. So they're quite tricky, and all you're basically doing is getting into a side squat and trying to shift your body weight across to the other side squat. So let me show you first. So if I'm here, I'm going to point my toes out a bit wider and I have my stance a bit wider, like so. I'm going to shift over to this side squat. Rather than coming up, I'm going to start to straighten this leg and bend this leg so I sink over to this side squat. If I show you from the side, we're practicing staying in that position. So I'm here. I don't move forward or back, I shift across and over to the other side. Great way to open up your hips and practice those side squats. Quite tricky and quite uncomfortable after a little amount of time. So at any point, come out of it and rest, but good. The practice thing here is trying to stay as low as you can and not come out of it as you go across. That's it, good. So practicing that lateral movement, keeping those knees out as you go across. Tough, but looks good, nice. So Cossack Squat, this is called, a very effective exercise for the hips and quads and glutes. But rest it there, nice. Little rest there again. We're going to move into our next part, which we're lying back down. We're going for some core exercises here. So grab yourself a drink, have a little, and then bring yourselves down. So we've already talked about the hips arching and tucking, and they've come into play a lot already with the plank and everything there. So it's the same here. We're going to basically do the reverse of a bird dog, which you've probably done before, called the dead bug, where first of all, as you can see, I'm arched. Let's tuck those hips, anterior pelvic tilt, so our back is flat to the floor, our core is strong. We've got a flat back. If you try to get one hand under, you couldn't. There's no gap because you're driving this core down, you're tucking those hips up. That's where we want to be first of all. From there, the easiest thing to do is lift those knees. And actually, lifting those knees actually makes it easier to maintain that position because it automatically tucks those hips up for you. What we want is those knees directly above the hips, and then our legs just out flat like so. Then we're going to put our arms up nice and strong here. So we're going to start easy with this dead bug. We're going to take one arm above. Now at any point, just the arm, Erica, that's it. Okay. So bring this here. This is the easy part, but what we don't want to do is start arching at all. So just bring it as far as you can while maintaining that flat back. Then bring it back. Other arm, take it out, maintain that nice back. And back. So this is where it gets trickier. Maintaining in that arch when you take a leg out. So keeping those hips tucked up is really key. So take one leg out, keeping that core driven to the floor, and then back in. And then the same on the other side. So the hips are going to want to help posterior pelvic tilt when you do that. You can rest there once you've done both of those. So not allowing that to happen. So if I show you here, so as I go out, if I arch the back, we're losing that core by letting the hips take control and drop down. So keeping those hips tucked up whilst one leg goes out is key. So we're going to go for some dead bugs now. If you get confused with the coordination, don't worry about it. Coordination is good to practice, but don't stop exercising because you lose that. It's still a good movement as long as your arms and legs are going in and out. But what we're looking for is choose an arm and choose a leg. Sorry, best thing to do is choose a leg. So I'm going to take my left, which means my right arm's going out with it, and they both go out together. The other two stay pointing up. So I've got my toes pointing up, and I've got my hand pointing to the ceiling. And then you bring them back in to level, and then you just swap to the other side. The whole time here, your focus should be on that back staying driven to the floor and the core staying strong. You're just going to keep alternating sides, nice and slow, keeping the hips tucked up and the core strong. That's good, nice. Really good way to work on core bracing again, as well as just a really strong core exercise. Feeling that core driven down the whole time. You can always test it by just trying to use the hand to get under, making sure there's no gap. You should be able to feel that core on the whole time. If you rest there for a second. So, although coordination becomes easier with the double dead bug, when you take both legs out, it really puts the pressure on the hips to stay up. It's very easy to take these legs out and allow the back to arch because they're fully extended. So if that's you and you find that you literally can't go all the way out without arching the back, then don't go too far. So maybe if you're doing a double dead bug, which looks like this, if you only go to here before you're going to arch the back, just work in that range. If you can go all the way out whilst keeping a strong core, then do so. But don't compromise your flat back. The main thing here is constantly keeping that back driven to the floor and that core strong and in control. So work at your own level. Take your time through the movement so you can feel exactly when, if your back's going to go, then when it will. And don't let it go. Keep the core under control. And we're going here. It's nice control. Bracing that core the whole time. That's good, well done. And relax there, cool. So sometimes you feel like you're really holding your breath in core exercises. I was talking through the whole kind of thing there. So you don't have to, but it takes practice not to, because it is kind of a different, they are involved in the diaphragm and breathing, but you don't have to hold your breath. But that takes practice, which we'll probably work on another day. But form-wise, look really good. Backs look nice and flat. Do you feel that on the core a lot?
Yeah. Cool.
That's the main thing. Always just think, is my back down or am I arching too much? So we're going to turn it over next and into some press-ups. I'm going to spend much time on press-ups again. I covered this in the basics masterclass. The main reason we're covering it is because a big part of today is that arching of the hips. So what we're going to do here, we'll start on the knees. And we're going to tuck up into that plank again. So I want to get yourself in this position first. Kneeling plank position with your hips tucked under like we've been practicing. Now what we're looking to do here, which I'm sure you'll all be able to manage, is just to go down into a press up and then push yourself back up. Perfect, good. So first of all, if this is as much as you can do, that's fine. In terms of press ups, this is a great place to work. And if you are keeping this position, which you all are, then you're going to get a lot of work out of this. This is, you can rest there a second, this is the key way to work on your press up. So Erica, that one there, we add the bum up. That's what we have to focus on here. What we see a lot of people do is they try and get to a full press up without establishing this kneeling press up first. If at any point in your press up, kneeling press up that is, your hips are higher than your shoulders, unless you're staying locked on like I am here, this will actually be okay, because I'm not moving from the hips, I'm just in a bent position. But what we see a lot of is where we move from the hips. So you can see my lower body isn't moving at all, which means I'm pressing about, I don't know, 30% of my body weight that I could be. Whereas at least here, where I'm shifting my weight forward all together, I'm pressing like most of my body weight. Same here, let's get into that tuck position. Start with the shoulders quite a bit above the hips, and the whole body has to come down together. So if you're down in this bottom position, your bum's here, then we need to address that to keep the bum down into these press-ups. It makes it 10 times harder, but that's it, that looks good. Now there's a few ways to make this one easier, but you've all kind of got the form there, so I'm happy to kind of keep it there. But that looks really good. So all you've got to do there is build on your range of motion next. The thing with press-ups is the closer you get to the floor, the harder it is, because your muscles are in a weaker position. It's hard to get back up from that position. So first of all, working on your rep range is the key. The thing I want to focus on with you here is when you're either in that position there or when you're on your feet is what your back's doing. The first thing to happen when you start to progress to a full press up is you go down fine, you're in the strong position, you go down fine, and then you lose your core and you finish up with like an arch back because you try and leave half the body behind and you press up here. That's what we've got to focus on. So whether you're going to do the next couple of press ups in a kneeling position or in a feet up position, the whole body stays on as a plank, okay? So there's no movement like we practice with the mountain climbers in the shoulder taps. There's no discrepancy between the locked on position of the body. It just stays locked on the whole time, and the only thing they're moving are your elbows and arms. That's it, focusing on that core. Doesn't matter how low you go, just focusing on maintaining that plank. Your strength will come with practice once you've nailed that fundamental, okay? It's the trickiest bit to get, but once you get that, you start building lower and lower to the floor, and you'll get a lot stronger there. Cool. We are going to finish on a Turkish get-up, which is just the kind of one of the best exercises you can do in terms of movement and understanding what position your body's in. We're only going to go through it a couple of times. In fact, I'll move it a bit lower still. I'm sure you've all done this before. I know Matt's a big fan of these. But we're going to go through it bit by bit. Slower than you've probably ever done it, because the good thing about the Turkish get-up is every movement is important in its own right. And we'll talk you through that now. So, if you lie yourselves out first of all, we're just going to do a couple on each side. We're going to choose an arm to go up, so I'm putting my left arm up first. From here, my left knee comes up as well, and my foot's flat on the floor. Then I'll take my right arm out wide to lateral to me, to the side. And now the first movement, actually, before we do that, the key thing to do here, which a lot of people forget to do, is this right leg, just make it nice and wide. Make it nice and wide, like so, that's it. So, the first thing for a Turkish get-up to do is get this onto this elbow here. This requires two movements at once. What we're looking to do is reach up with this chest, so reaching forward just to get enough room to scoot that arm under, like so. So I'm crunching up, and then that arm just slides underneath. So my elbow is directly under my shoulder. And here, that's it. Perfect. That is exercise one. We're going to do that 3 times. So lie back down. We're going to crunch up and elbow under. 1, back down, 2, back down, and 3. So that's like a little crunch there, a little bicycle crunch because we're going across. That's exercise 1. We're going to continue to try and reach up with this core and arm. So reach up further as you push up onto that hand. So although the arm could do this on its own, trying to reach up, or keep your arm straight, but crunch up still, helping the core to come up into this position here. That's it. From here, arguably the hardest bit is the thrust up. So what we've got here now, we've got a strong hand down and a strong foot down. Now we are lifting, pushing both of those down and lifting the hips. So up there. Then once you've done that, I'm going to put that back down. We're going to go for 3 more reps there. So up, 1, like a hip thrust, and back down. 2, keeping the core strong, back down, and 3. Now this is the hardest bit, rest down. This is the hardest bit because you've got to get as high enough as you can to be able to get this leg under. So you go up, and then you bring this leg underneath, like so. That's it. But you can rest the knee down, place that knee to the floor. That's it. From this position, your knee should be directly down underneath your body, so you're in a super stable position now to hopefully be able to just lift that hand off and be in a strong position there. Perfect. From there, now some people like to see this, some people don't. What you can do is you can just twist the knee. So from being in this position here, you twist forward to twisting around to the side, just to make it easier now to like step up into that standing position. That's it. Perfect. We're going to repeat that down. We're going to do the same on the other side, and then we're done. So hand back up, We're going to step back that knee and down. Twist that foot around to open the hips up. Hand comes down. Now, before you do anything else here, don't rush this bit. Put all your weight into this foot and this arm, so that if we wanted to, we can lift that knee up. Once you've gathered that strength, you can easily kick that foot through. And then you keep the hips up and drop them down slowly. That's it. Down onto that forearm. And then slide that arm away and down you are. Cool. Really good. So one more on the other side, and then we're done for today. So here we go. Swap everything. So put your opposite arm. So I'm doing right arm this time. Right knee up. Left arm out wide. And shuffle that left leg out a bit as well. And now remember, we're going for like that bicycle crunch to create enough room for that elbow to slide underneath. That's it. Good job there. From here, we're going to crunch up further and push onto that hand. Good. Again, remember, big strength in this hand, this foot and this hand. Drive those hips up into a strong position. From there, once you feel strong enough to, you slide that knee underneath. Nice, strong, stable position too. And then when you feel like you're in a stable position, bring that hand off. Twist that leg into a step-up position. And then stand. Perfect, good job. Here we go. Final bit back down. So knee down. Twist that foot around. Place that hand. Feel super stable here before you kick that leg through. Once you feel stable, that leg can go through. Then the bum down. Down to that elbow. And then release that. Cool, nice one. Right, that's everything I wanted to cover today. So obviously we covered a ton of stuff, quite a lot of advanced stuff. But generally what we just want to focus on is the control of it all and making sure we're in the right position for everything. So hope you got some takeaways from that in terms of some of the harder exercises and what position we want to be in, okay?
Great, thank you.
Cool, no worries guys. Well, have a nice rest of the day and I'll see you, my next session is Friday night if you're joining me.
Yeah, maybe.
So I'll see you then, hopefully.
See you. Bye-bye, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.